The lie you call freedom. You live in the safest time in human history, but you've never felt more anxious. You can order food, sex, and affirmation with your thumbs, but you feel emptier than ever. You can quit your job, change your identity, even move across the country in a week. And yet, something inside you still feels caged. You scroll TikTok at 1 a.m. laughing at strangers, crying at strangers, numbing with strangers, and you call it freedom of expression. You binge shows about rebels, warriors, survivors while sitting completely still, and you call it entertainment. You check your bank account every day, you check your likes every hour, you check yourself never. Because the truth is brutal. 1, you are not free. You are highly programmable. They didn't need chains. They just needed to make you comfortable. A soft life, a smooth life. A life where nothing hurts and nothing means anything. Because if they can keep you chasing convenience, they'll never need to teach you how to think. And if you never learn to think, you'll never rebel. You'll buy another self-help book, another therapy app, another affirmation playlist on Spotify. You'll call it growth. But really it's sedation. You don't need more peace, you need truth. And truth is terrifying. But it's the only thing that doesn't wear a leash. If you're still here, you already know something is wrong. Now let's go deeper into the religion of comfort that's replaced your freedom. 2. The cult of comfort. There's no altar, no prayer, no high priest. But this is a religion, and you're already a loyal follower. The God comfort. The promise you'll never have to feel pain again. You won't have to face rejection, just swipe left. You won't need to cook, just tap. You won't need to sit with your thoughts, just scroll. And if that doesn't work, order a pill. This is not luxury, this is anesthesia disguised as freedom. You're not free. You're sedated. And the most terrifying part, you like it. Because it doesn't yell, it whispers. It doesn't hit, it hugs. It doesn't imprison you with walls. It imprisons you with choices too many to ever feel clarity again. This is the cult you joined unknowingly. Not because you're stupid, but because the entry fee is everything you feared to feel. And comfort promised you'd never have to feel anything again. You obey this God every time you check your phone out of boredom, every time you avoid a hard conversation, every time you run from silence and call it productivity. This God rewards you with dopamine, it punishes you with distraction, and it steals your soul with convenience. Now ask yourself this: when was the last time you did something not because it felt good, but because it felt real? The cult of comfort doesn't care if you succeed. It only wants you calm, obedient, and half asleep. In the next chapter, we'll expose how this comfort was engineered from the classroom to the screen. 3. The comfort curriculum. Before you were old enough to choose, you were taught to obey. Raise your hand, ask for permission to speak, line up, sit still, be quiet, smile. They didn't teach you how to think. They taught you how to wait, how to nod, how to fear disapproval, and worst of all, how to fear discomfort. You weren't rewarded for being original. You were rewarded for being correct, safe, predictable, quietly smart. The system didn't raise rebels. It bred compliant overachievers addicted to gold stars and afraid of real failure. Every time you had a question, they gave you an answer, but not one born from wonder, just one that made grading easier. Every time you felt angry, restless, loud, wild, they gave you a label, then a diagnosis, then a pill. By the time you were 18, you already feared your own fire. You'd learned how to silence your gut, how to shrink your voice, how to trade freedom for safety. This wasn't an accident, it was training. A slow, systematic crushing of your sacred discomfort. Because if you can't handle discomfort, you'll never question the system that provides it. In school, they taught you how to behave, but on your screen, they'll teach you how to think. Or so it seems. Let's talk about the algorithm next. 4. The algorithmic cage. You don't choose your thoughts. They're chosen for you. Curated. Calculated. Pushed. What you watch, watches you. What you like, rewrites you. Every scroll is a confession. Every click is a fingerprint. Every pause is data, and the algorithm is always listening. You think you're browsing, but you're being browsed. Your attention isn't free. It's the most expensive thing you own, and you've been giving it away for dopamine crumbs. The system doesn't need to punish you. It just needs to keep you pacified. Give him pleasure, give him outrage, give him just enough dopamine to keep scrolling but never enough to wake up. You don't live in the real world anymore. You live in the one your feed constructs. You're not a citizen. You're a user, an input, a data set, a puppet on a digital leash. And here's the genius. The algorithm doesn't care who you are. It only cares who you will become if it keeps you watching long enough. And if it can keep you entertained, it will never need to make you free. You escaped school, but now you've been enrolled in the most powerful classroom in history, the attention economy. Next, let's talk about the drug that powers it all, dopamine. 5. The dopamine guillotine. Dopamine is not happiness, it's anticipation, it's hunger, it's chase, and in today's world it's everywhere. Packaged, monetized, weaponized. Every ping, every buzz, every new follower hits the same part of your brain that once drove you to hunt for food or fight for survival. But now you get that rush. From pixels, from fake arguments, from likes, from strangers. You're not chasing life, you're chasing chemicals. Dopamine was supposed to drive you toward growth, but now it's been hijacked to keep you addicted to stasis. The system doesn't want you dead. It wants you awake enough to consume, but too numb to rebel. That's the guillotine, a cut not to your head but to your will. You don't need a tyrant anymore. You just need a screen that rewards you every 8 seconds. You're dying of comfort, and dopamine is your sedative, your leash, your executioner. The worst part, you feel it, you know it, and you still open the app. But dopamine wasn't the first lie. The first one was the version of success you were trained to worship. Let's destroy that next. 6. Success. The designer cage. They told you to chase success, so you ran. You got the degree, the job, the promotion, the apartment with perfect lighting and quartz countertops. You wear the watch, you say the words, you post the wins. But why do you still feel like a fraud? Because the success you were promised was never freedom. It was a reward for obedience. Do what you're told, get validation, perform the part, get applause, become predictable, get promoted. What they sold you wasn't liberation, it was luxury-shaped captivity. Success for many men is just burnout in a better suit. Stress with leather seats, isolation with title tags. You were told you had to earn your worth, so you performed. But no one told you the stage had no exit. You became a man in a cage with glass walls. You can see the world, but you can't feel it. You can buy the table, but not connection. You can order the view, but not perspective. This isn't anti-success, it's anti-slavery. Because the moment you believe success will save you, it already owns you. You performed well in the world's most elegant trap. But let's rewind. Before you sold your soul for salary, let's revisit who you were when pain still meant something. 7. Real pain. Real power. There is pain. And then there is real pain. Not the kind you numb. Not the kind you journal. Not the kind you breathe through with meditation apps. But the kind that leaves claw marks on your psyche. The kind that breaks your identity like glass. The kind you don't talk about because it doesn't fit in a hashtag. You were told to avoid it, to manage it, to reframe it, to medicate it, to bury it. But what if the pain you're avoiding is the only part of you still alive? Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the uninvited mentor. It doesn't teach through theory. It teaches through wounds, through blood, through endings. Pain reveals what comfort hides, who you really are when everything false burns away. You say you want strength, but do you want the pain that forges it? Because make no mistake, strength is not built in calm. Wisdom is not born from safety. Peace is not found by avoiding fire but walking through it. If you numb the pain, you numb the power. They live in the same place. You want your power back? Then you'll have to pick up your pain, not as a burden, but as a weapon. Next, let's talk about the ancient way back, the rituals of rebellion. 9. Rituals of rebellion. Power doesn't return through motivation. It returns through ritual. You don't reclaim your mind by yelling affirmations in the mirror. You reclaim it by confronting the silence, daily, by meeting pain on schedule, by building sacred discomfort into your routine. Because rebellion isn't chaos, it's consistency in the opposite direction. That's not just a habit, that's a rite of passage. Not for your body, for your will. Every time you wake up early, refuse distraction. Say no when it's easier to nod. You're telling the world, I no longer serve comfort. I serve something higher. Wake before the world wants you to. Sit in silence without stimulation. Write without filter. Train without music. Face one thing that scares you every week. None of these are trends, they're rights. And rights are sacred, because they transform who you are, not how you look. Narrator, sharp, calm, deliberate tone. This is the part they didn't want you to remember, that your body is a temple. And temples require discipline. Not punishment, not performance, ritual. When you begin these rituals, people will mock you. Some will leave you. Most will never understand you. That's how you know it's working. Because the ritual doesn't change them. It changes you. Next, let's meet the version of you no one's met before. The one that comes after you stop performing. 9. The living dead. You wake up, you work, you eat, you sleep. You repeat. You don't scream, you don't break, you don't rebel, but you don't feel alive either. Because here's the quiet horror of modern life. You're not dying, you're disappearing. Your spark, your edge, your wildness, all replaced by comfort, responsibility, and a permanent low-grade numbness. You do what you're supposed to. You nod when they speak. You reply on time. You stay professional. But your soul, it hasn't spoken in years. It's buried under deadlines, muted under politeness, chained by monthly goals. This is what they don't put on billboards. That most men are not living. They're just functioning. And functioning is the new death. Because it's invisible, praiseworthy, socially acceptable. You don't get a funeral for losing your spirit. Just a paycheck, a mortgage, a tight jaw you call maturity. You've already died once, you just didn't notice. But there's good news, you can rise if you dare to bury what's already rotten. Let's begin that process now. 10. Rebirth through discomfort. You don't get reborn in comfort. You get reborn in chaos, in silence, in sweat, in screams that no one hears. The real transformation doesn't happen on a yoga mat. It happens on the bathroom floor at 2 a.m., when your dreams feel dead, your mask is off, and you finally realize, no one is coming to save me. This is where most men break. But this is also where some men begin. Because there is power in discomfort if you dare to stay in it. Not escape, not medicate, not rationalize. Just sit and feel and let it tear the old you apart. Rebirth isn't a glow-up. It's a funeral, followed by a first breath. You bury the boy who needed to be liked. You bury the man who lived for approval. And in that dirt, you plant something else. A new spine, a new standard, a new soul. Narrator. Voice slows to a whisper of sacred authority. You cannot think your way into becoming. You have to bleed into it. The world wants you polished. This path makes you primal. In the next chapter, you'll meet what's left of you after the fire, after the death, after the illusions are gone. 11. You untamed. You're not polished anymore. You're not presentable. You're not a success story. You're something more dangerous, more sacred, more real. You are untamed. You've remembered what most men have forgotten, that strength isn't how loud you roar. It's how quietly you can walk away from anything that insults your soul. You no longer explain yourself. You no longer beg for connection. You no longer trade your voice for approval. Because now, your spine has roots. Your no has weight. Your silence speaks louder than ever. This is not arrogance, it's alignment. You are not seeking love. You're becoming love carved by fire, not fantasy. You don't need a brand. You don't need a tribe. You don't even need to be understood. Because a free man doesn't want followers, he wants freedom. You are not better. You are clearer. You are not above others. You're just no longer beneath yourself. The world will try to pull you back, to soften your edges, to tame your truth. Don't go back. Because what's ahead now is not peace, it's power. 12. Power. Not peace. Peace isn't the goal, it's the side effect. Because if you chase peace, you'll hide from pain, you'll avoid truth, you'll keep yourself small. But if you chase power, true, rooted internal power, You'll find peace as a byproduct of self-possession. Most men don't want peace. They want escape labeled as peace. Netflix, porn, junk food, toxic positivity, numbness branded as mindfulness. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It's the presence of unshakable direction. Real power is not domination. It's orientation. It's knowing who you are and not needing the room to clap for it. You don't need to be louder. You need to be undeniable. Not through bravado, but through grounded, calm, sovereign presence. Because a man with real power walks differently, talks differently, breathes differently. He doesn't chase peace, he radiates it. The world will feel your presence before you speak. Because power is quiet, power is still, power is undeniable. And now, with this power forming in your bones, there's only one more thing you must face. What happens when the world starts to resist your freedom? Because it will. 13. When the world pushes back. They told you to be yourself until you actually did it. They told you to speak your truth until it made them uncomfortable. They told you to break the mold until your freedom cracked their illusions. Freedom isn't inspiring to the chained, it's threatening. Because when you walk into a room untamed, unafraid, unimpressed, you remind them of everything they've buried. They won't say it out loud, but they will punish your freedom, not with fists, but with guilt, with distance, with silence. You'll be called selfish. You'll be called intense. You'll be called too much. But what they really mean is, you're not afraid like we are. This is the cost of returning to yourself, of reclaiming your soul. Not everyone comes with you. Not everyone wants you strong. Not everyone survives your boundaries. But hear this. You are not here to soothe the world. You are here to stir it. You are not here to make them comfortable. You are here to be true. And once you stop apologizing for your aliveness, something shifts. You stop negotiating and start commanding. Let's talk about that next. 14. The emotional payoff commanding without force. There's a moment in the journey where something changes. You no longer feel the need to convince, to prove, to win. You've stopped trying to be heard because now your presence is the message. True power doesn't force outcomes. It shapes the room by existing. People begin to feel you. Not in what you say, but in what you don't chase. You don't beg, you don't flinch, you don't shrink. You carry something they can't name, but they recognize it. It's the weight of self-ownership, the energy of a man who has buried the old self and walked out of the fire untouched by applause. You don't control the room, you calibrate it. You don't take up space, you hold gravity. This is the reward, not fame, not applause, not admiration, but quiet command. The kind of power that moves mountains not with force but with immovable stillness. You've stopped performing, and in doing so, you've become undeniable. And now there's only one thing left to do to make a choice, a real one, not for the world, but for yourself. 15. The final choice, freedom or familiarity. This is where we end, and this is where you begin. There are no more tips, no more secrets, no more hype. Just a question. Will you return to the man you were trained to be, or become the one you were born to become? You can go back to likes, to comfort, to numbing rituals that look like success. Or you can leave. Not your life, but your illusion. You can shed the man who obeyed convenience, who lived for applause, who measured his worth by softness. You can walk into that dark place alone, where you feel everything, where you own everything, where you no longer hide behind the acceptable version of you. This is the threshold, not of pain, not of perfection, but of power, quiet, sovereign, earned. You will not be celebrated for choosing this path. You will be misunderstood. You will be doubted. But you will not doubt yourself again. You are not free because they let you be. You are free because you chose pain over permission. Now walk. If this spoke to you, don't subscribe to me. Subscribe to the version of you who's still buried. Comment, "I choose discomfort." And share this with the one man in your life who needs to hear it. The revolution doesn't need more followers. It needs more men who remember who they are.